vile Kwale County ilivyo, kuna county kama vile Kinango, kuna constituency kama vile Kinango, Lunga na pia sehemu fulani za Matuga na Msambweni pia. Ni sehemu ambazo ukiziangalia tu hivi unaona hizi ni shule ni sehemu za
Mheshimiwa Masito, uliza swali.
Swali langu linaniuliza ni kriteria gani au ni ujuzi gani unatumika kuzipanga zile shule kujua hii ni ya hardship area na hii si hardship area.
Honorable Kibageni, order. Masito, ushauliza maswali yako. Nidhamu. Ebu mpe Mike, please conclude.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Speaker. Na pia nimuulize Mheshimiwa Waziri, anajua kwamba zile shule wanafunzi wakimaliza kidato cha 4 hawapewi certificate zao kwa sababu hawakulipa school fees zote, hawakulipa remedial zote, na jambo hili lilipitishwa hata na bunge hili, watoto wakimaliza shule waweze kupewa certificate zao. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Speaker.
Honorable Bissau, followed by the Honorable MP for Sotik, and the last one is Honorable Karoli Omondi, and then we'll have this round.
Thank you.
Honorable members, you realize this is called riders because I think there was an element of, you never filed a question. You don't expect the minister to answer every question here which has not been filed in advance. So Minister, Cabinet Secretary, you will choose what to answer, and those ones that have not been filed before, you can give us another date when you will have the substantive answer. But proceed, the Honorable Bissau.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir, this question has come up frequently because I sit on the public investment education governance, and one is to do with the computation. Over and over again, even in my own backyard, even buying chalk sometimes is a problem. Now I would like when the CS stands up to answer this question to give us an action plan on how we are going to stop this issue of delayed submission of computation. 2 is to do with teachers and also infrastructure distribution. Most of my schools, if not all, have got a shortage of teachers. While we know in the other places in the Republic, probably even teachers are more than the students. So as the CS stands up, he should tell us what is the action plan is going to put in place to ensure that where we don't have teachers, where we have teacher shortages,
fair enough,
that they are put in place, including infrastructure. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
You made your point, Honorable MP for Sotik. Then finally with Honorable MP for Karoli Omondi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I want to thank you for this opportunity which I have been given. I want to ask the Honorable Minister 2 questions. As you are aware, Mr. Speaker, for almost 1 month now, there is a wave of strikes and destruction of property within the region of South Rift. In my constituency, specifically Sotik, we had Kablong girls burning the dormitory and destroying that property in that school. We had detained high school, Mr. Speaker, where a lot of destruction. In fact, that was the worst strike ever. I want to know, and also Koyua, all these areas, and we are hearing, Mr. Speaker, that there could be tension in many schools in our region. I want to ask the minister whether he knows about this. I know he knows what action he is taking, because we are really worried that whatever we have built as a region, as institutions, destroyed in a week is really worrying. The parents are worrying. The population there are worried, particularly retaining high school. Mr. Speaker, I would like to know what the minister is, whether he has plans to stem this serious problem which is causing havoc in our area. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
My old seasoned administrator, one of the best administrators I've seen in this country, you did not file a question on all those issues you have raised now. If everybody here is essentially a joyrider on a question, the minister came prepared to answer the question by Omboko, and which was asked on his behalf by Honorable Martha. he has, you know, the generosity to answer them all. But in future, I suggest all this, what do you call, very sticking things like those ones. Put up a question. And finally, yes, Karoli Omondi.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity. Could the Honorable Minister inform the House when the ministry will disburse the 14 million shillings that was budgeted under the public hearing process in last year's budget for Ogaka Primary School in Suba South constituency? And could he also indicate what the status of the request for infrastructure development funds by Kinyasaga Primary School and Kianyumba Primary School, both in Suba South constituency? Thank you.
The final one, the lady, Rahab.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to ask a straight question. Waziri, why are you sending Form 4 students home? And we know very well those children are preparing for exams. I was at home on Monday, and most of the children are at home. It's not their fault. Kindly, can you address and instruct all the principals to allow the children to go and do their exams?
Minister.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The decision to undertake the verification exercise, as I indicated, arose out of the fact that when the Auditor General undertook a forensic audit of the schools, there was an indication that there are ghost schools and ghost students. But the exercise that was undertaken by the Auditor General was of a sampling nature, and not all the schools were checked. So we decided as a ministry to undertake the verification exercise, and it is true that we weighed the decision to undertake the exercise vis-a-vis the release of the capitation to those schools, and therefore the possibility of continuing to release resources to schools perhaps that do not exist. And we agonized over that decision, and we came to the conclusion that it was better to delay a little bit in the process of releasing the capitation in order to get the right number and the right schools to which we are releasing that capitation. We, however, had not anticipated that it would take more than 2 weeks. We had calculated that it would take 2 weeks, but it took slightly longer. However, the decision we made in order to mitigate the challenges that the schools are going through was that every single day, once we conclude the verification exercise for a particular school, which we confirm it exists and the correct number of students, disbursement for those resources or resources to those schools was released to them. That is why, as we speak today, we have released funds, for example, for secondary schools to 97% of the schools. And generally, for all the schools, we are at 84% of the exercise. The question was actually requiring us to have done at least 50%. So far, we've done about 84% generally and 97% for secondary schools, especially because of the major exams that are coming up. So we are working day and night to ensure that in the next 1 week, by Wednesday next week, would have completed this exercise. So in order to conclude on this matter, the intention is that once the analysis of the data that we receive is done, we will then determine who or where are these ghost schools, and we have no evidence so far, to just respond to Honorable Kasim, that the ghost schools that are discovered are related to people who work in the ministry. We don't have that evidence so far. But once the analysis is done, and we determine that there are schools that did not exist that previously for the last 3-4 years have been receiving resources, then the investigative agencies will take up that matter and handle it. So the purpose of the verification exercise was not just to release the capitation, but also to enable us going forward to make the right decisions and be able to have the right number. Honorable members, this question of the numbers of the people that we have or the learners that we have in our institutions and the actual institutions that we have is tied to the capitation itself. Because the capitation that we give in the Ministry of Education is at the rate of students. For example, in primary schools, we give 1,540. In junior schools, we give 15,000, and in secondary schools, we give 22,000. So it is that figure, 22,000, times the correct number of the students that we have. Now, when we do not have the correct number, or the correct number is not known or accepted by all and sundry, that this is the actual number of students that we have, then it becomes a budgeting issue, so that when we submit our budgets and say this is the number of students we have and this is the amount that we have, that amount normally is not budgeted for in full. So we've been budgeting, but we do not get it in full because it is slashed. And it's slashed because our numbers have not been verified, so that yourselves here in Parliament and also Treasury then has the capacity to say we do not have the correct number, and they can reduce that number, the amount, by 20%, 10%, leading to the underfunding of the sector. But with the right number confirmed, that this is the right number of students that we have, then it will not be possible to slash that budget, because then we would be violating policy and we would be violating the Constitution under Article 53. So this exercise is important, again, because we are working towards migrating from the NEMIS system that we had to the CHEMIS system, which is much more robust. And the reason why we are doing this exercise is so that we do not just move the data from NEMIS to CHEMIS, because if the data in NEMIS was incorrect, we would have transferred the incorrect data to the new system and would not have resolved the problem that already is there that we want to resolve. So we did this exercise with the intention of ensuring that, yes, for this third term, maybe for 2-3 weeks, we will have a problem, but going into the future, we will have been able to resolve that question in terms of numbers, in terms of the capitation, and in terms of even the delays, which I'm coming to respond to. So this is what is happening in that space, just to ensure that the data that we have is cleaned, in order for us to ensure that we have a system that we can verify, that we can defend. When we are bringing the budget, we are able to defend it, and then we are able to ensure that our students do not suffer that loss of being underfunded. Mr. Speaker, the timeline of completion, as I've said, we'll be completing this exercise by next week on Wednesday, and all the resources would have been released to those schools. Mr. Speaker, on the question of Honorable Gisairo's question of hiding behind SRC, Mr. Speaker, it is not true that the ministry is hiding behind SRC. The actual position is that SRC is a constitutional commission mandated to deal with matters of remuneration across the country, and not just for one sector. SRC has written to the unions and confirmed that this is the figure that we think is owed. If you challenge it based on the payrolls, the technical teams will meet and they'll go through the payrolls and the pay slips to confirm what is owed. What Honorable Gisairo refers to as the AG's advisory, it is true the AG indicated that there is 7.9 billion due. And what we are saying is that out of that 7.9 billion, 7.2 billion has been paid. So it is just ensuring or verifying that position as, is it true that the 7.9 billion has been paid and the balance is 624. We are not saying that the CBA is not the 8.8 plus the 7.9 making 16 billion. We are only saying that even though the instructions came that this is the amount that is due, the 7.9, 7.2 can be confirmed to have been paid through the normal annual increments in the specific payrolls of all the universities. And that is the meeting that the teams are meeting tomorrow to go through and confirm what is due. And once that confirmation is made, then we will be able to agree on how the payment is going to be done. Mr. Speaker, it is not possible, for example, for the unions, for the ministry, to pay 7.9 billion when SRC has said 7.2 is paid, because that will be another audit query before this office, before this August House, that we've done double payment. So it is important that all these government institutions are aligned so that we confirm that this is the actual amount that is outstanding. Then we'll make a proposal on how that payment is going to be done. And of course, this is a challenge that has come because it's an old CBA that we are trying to resolve as we speak. I've answered the question of ghost schools. On the question of capitation, not going to schools that have TSC numbers, we need to find out the specifics, and then we can respond to that question specifically when the application was done, when the code was done, and whether they have met all the requirements that are required under our structures and regulations for them to be able to get allocated the capitation. On the lecturers' strike, I can assure you that as a ministry, we are concerned that, for example, a CBA of 2017-2021 is affecting students who are admitted in 2025-2026, because the students of 2025-2026 have already paid and they don't owe the lecturers anything. They are owed on a previous CBA. So there is a constitutional and a jurisprudential question there that perhaps we need to look at, but we are working day and night to ensure that that CBA is sorted out and we agree on how to proceed going forward. And that is why in the CBA, in the negotiations of the 2021-25 CBA last year, in 2024, it was the ministry that came up with the idea that we need to be negotiating our CBAs at the beginning of their cycle so that it is better or easier to plan going forward. So that is what we want to do. That's the commitment that the government has given. And that's why we were saying once we receive the parameters from SRC, which normally gives the beacons within which you have to negotiate, then the negotiations will be done. And from there, the issue of how that payment will be done will be agreed on, and therefore we'll keep our lecturers in class. We have no interest at all in allowing our lecturers to be in the streets because our students are suffering and we are alive to it. To Honorable Donya's question of the students waking up early, it is true, and I think you called me when you met the students somewhere along the way, I think it was in Oyugis. We have a regulation, a policy. The school begin at 8 o'clock and close at 3:30 for class. Those are the class hours that are given by the ministry. And there are circulars that are given to that effect, so that any institution that is violating this is doing it outside the guidelines of the ministry, and disciplinary action is taken on an individual basis for those institutions that are picking kids too early in the morning. So if we have specific cases, we'll be sure to take action against those particular schools. I have indicated the question of capitation, why we had to do it even though the schools were open. It was a difficult decision, but we thought it is more important to know the right numbers than the issues, the challenges that were going to be there, because they've been there continuously. And we thought if we are able to resolve this question now, in the future, would have been able to resolve a bigger problem that we've been facing. And that also is tied to the delayed capitation. As I've indicated, it's because the numbers are not tying up. And currently, Mr. Speaker, in order to avoid the delays in capitation as a result of release of the exchequer, we are in discussions, and our technical team has been formed between the ministry and the Ministry of Finance to discuss on this issue of 50% first term, 30% second term, and 20% third term ratios. And what we are doing is aligning these ratios, aligning our academic year to the financial year. You will note that our academic year is January to December, for example, and the financial year is June to July. So we need to align that space so that, for example, if Treasury has more pressure for resources in the first term, we do not receive funds during that time. We receive more funds when they do not have pressure for the resources like the payment of debts. So this is the analysis that is being done so that if they do their spread across the 12 months, Is there 2-3 months when they do not have pressure for resources and they have more money, then we can receive that money and ensure it is ring-fenced to avoid the situation of continuous delays when schools are opening. And this particular ratio, this particular arrangement may change once that discussion is completed, and we are hoping to complete that discussion this term so that come next year, we have a system that covers both the actual amounts that are coming and also dealing with the issue of delays. On the issue of Honorable Masito's question of the TSC in Kwale, the lack of teachers, again, it is the same exercise that is being undertaken also by TSC. And as you well know, we have shortages of teachers. That's why we have employed so far 76,000 teachers. 24,000 are being employed, and another 16,000 will be employed next year. But over and above that, they are also undertaking a rationalization exercise, because there could be areas that have more teachers than they should have, and other areas that have less teachers than they should. So that rationalization exercise will be able to help them make a decision on how to redistribute the teachers across the country in order to ensure that there is not a specific area that does not have the number of teachers that they should have. With respect to the question of hardship areas, Mr. Speaker, hardship areas are gazetted by the Ministry of Public Service. Currently, there is a review process that is going on to reevaluate the areas that are going to be called hardship areas, so that in the country it is harmonized, because there was a situation where some areas are hardship and others are not, and they're actually from the same place. In other words, you'd find perhaps people who are working in the civil service get hardship in the same area where, for example, teachers do not get. So that harmonization exercise and review is being undertaken by the ministry, and once that is done, it would be gazetted so that each and everyone would be able to determine that this particular place is a hardship area. Mr. Speaker, the KCSE certificates that are held or withheld by schools is an illegality under the Kenya National Examinations Council Act, Section 10, and we've done circulars, and where we find that there is a principal, there is a head of institution who is holding this particular certificates, action is being taken, and as we speak, quite a number of discipline cases are ongoing through the TSC. So we are working towards ensuring that eventually we have all the certificates released, and if there are any specific cases that the certificates have been withheld, please raise them with us. We will definitely take action and ensure that those certificates are released to the students. Mr. Speaker.
You're a point of order. Why don't you allow him to finish, and then you can raise that issue. You don't have to say point of order now. You wait until it's complete.
Honorable Bissau's question, I think I've dealt with the issue of delayed capitation and the question of distribution of infrastructure and teachers. It is the same issue that I'm talking about. For the last 2 financial years, we did not get any infrastructure funds, but in the 2025-2026, am I right? Yes, there was a provision of 1.3 billion infrastructure, which would be distributed among the schools or among the deserving areas. Honorable Francis Gay's question on the wave of strikes. Yes, there has been strikes, especially in a number of areas, and this is attributed sometimes to the fear of exams, because it normally happens around the 3rd term, but we've asked our principals, our parents, and our guardians to have discussions with students so that if there are particular challenges that the students are going through, so particular pressures, they can be dealt with at the level of the school. What is important to note is that in situations where students commit arson, like in instances of Litain, criminal action can actually be taken against them, and it has been taken against them, and it forces the parents to be required to pay for the rebuilding of those particular school properties that are destroyed. So it is important to just be alert, the career teachers, the psychosocial activities that take place in those schools, so that they can be able to engage with the students to ensure that where there is a challenge, where there is a problem, it is dissolved or it is dealt with earlier before it gets out of hand. There are many reasons why they are doing this. Some do not want to undertake exams, some feel like they are not prepared, and that has been the cause of some of these activities. But each case is being dealt with individually. Honorable Karoli Omondi's question is specific. Perhaps if you could do a note to us, then we can be able to respond specifically to those 3 schools that you raised, and we'll give you an answer that is not guesswork. I'd like to give you a specific answer to those specific questions. And with respect to sending of the students home, this is not allowed in third term, because if it's a question of capitation, it is the head of institutions that was to submit the data in order for us to be able to release capitation to them. And some institutions that have been having problems releasing, we've been able to send our sub-county directors to them to help them upload the information that is required. We've required a little bit more information than it was before. For example, we need to know in each grade how many students you have, how many are female, how many are male, like that, all the way from grade 1 to grade 9, and then from 3 and 4. So we are going to do that, a reminder, so that they do not send students home. I submit, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Martha.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I figure you're giving me to ask the next.
Order, Honorable. When you get a, just relax. Proceed.
You're asking me to ask the next question? Yeah. Yes. No?
No. Did you have any more clarification you needed on this question?
Just a point of information, Mr. Speaker, that I've had the CS say that they have released 97 of all the secondary schools and 84 primary schools for the capitation versus what was requested. And I want to note, Mr. Speaker, that we were not requesting that you deal with 50%. We were talking of capitation to every school, the minimum being third term, not the number of schools. Okay. And on the issue of sending children home, I wish the ministry could just ask their sub-county officers. Form 4s are at home, and I know in many constituencies, including mine. So I think that is an issue that the ministry needs to pick up.
The MP for Kwanza, just give one quick rider, and then, of course, the MP for Nyeri Town.
Yeah.
Then we go to the next question. Proceed.
I want to take this opportunity to thank you for giving me the chance. First and foremost, I think you've done the capitation. Minister, you, I think about a year now, all in the ministry. I just want to draw your attention to the fact that the ministry came up with this program of TVET. And from what I'm seeing, you've actually been giving out money. We are expecting that this can be done to be able to help our youth to be able to get jobs, what have you. I'm stuck up in my constituency. TVET has not been given the funds from your ministry. I contributed my bit from NGCDF, and up to now, I think there's a problem in the ministry. Lastly, very important, can you, as a ministry, give directives to TSC so that, Mr. Speaker, we have youths that finished school and graduated almost from 2011 up to now. Why don't you give directive to the TSC to employ the youth that actually graduated much earlier?
Fair enough.
And then now there's nothing.
You have asked your question. Madenge? Yours is a point of order. Relax.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I've heard the minister say that they've not had funds for infrastructure, but this year they got some money. Mr. Speaker, there's a program that the ministry is running known as expansion of infrastructure at the secondary school education equity and quality improvement program. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to know the criteria that the ministry has used in identifying and actually not identifying, in excluding the schools and the constituencies that have not benefited. Mr. Speaker, for example, in Nyeri, despite Nyeri town constituency having day schools in what were the former colonial villages, which are pockets of poverty, and also in the slums of Nyeri town, none of the schools, the day schools in Nyeri town, have been included in this program. I think this is causing disparity. One more question, Mr. Speaker, on the issues of teachers' salaries and promotions. Mr. Speaker, the ministry, using TSC, did some regrading of job groups. And unlike what we have seen in the past, some job groups were merged, unlike the norm, which has resulted in the stagnation of teachers under job group C1, C2, or C2, C3. Why is the ministry having two grading schemes for salaries for teachers? The grading schemes for personnel employed by TSC is different than the one for teachers working in schools.
Yes. Why didn't you file that question so that the minister can come prepared for this question? Honorable members, I think we better be very serious with our business here. That's why you call order. Yes, are you on a point of order? The Honorable, yes, you're on a point of order. What's your point of order?
Speaker, yesterday when we were in the House, and I think it's Honorable Ndonya who raised the issue, and there was a suggestion that when the CS comes here, we offer these suggestions to him so that when he goes back to the office, he can look at it and consider.
So what's your suggestion?
That instead of these protracted tussles between the students and the principals, why can Kenya National Examination Council send the result slip directly to the students? Just like e-citizen, birth certificate, you don't have to go through a place where you were born to get a birth certificate, so that even if your mother left a bill there, the certificate is held. Why can't you consider by next year the same straight? Thank you.
I think this question, Raso, you're the last one, and then we'll go to the next question. Yes, what is your...
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, in his response to the question by Honorable Mother, the CS talked about the problem of having teachers' shortages. I want to put to the minister, why has it taken almost 8 months for you to approve Marsabit Teachers Training College, when actually you will be able to train more teachers and try to fill in the gaps? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Raso, seasoned civil servant who rose to the ranks and became a senior military officer. Why didn't you ask that question? This guy would have, the minister would have come, the CS would have come prepared with a comprehensive answer for you. And that's why we call this riders. Actually, we're trying to mask the issue of saying joy riders. You know what I mean? So let's be serious with our business and let members of parliament file questions that are specific and let the minister come ready to answer that. Honorable Mwenje, in appreciation of the times I served in this parliament with your dad, I'm going to allow you, although you came very late. Please give him so he asks the question, the last question, and then the minister responds.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for even that honor. My question will be just very simple and straightforward, Honorable Speaker. The Cabinet Secretary had requested him to deploy education officers to the new sub-counties, especially in Nairobi, and I even wrote a letter to him. I hope he can give me a response on the status of deploying those new sub-county officers within Nairobi County. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Minister, you can answer that, but do not feel, or rather, don't take it obligated to answer a question that essentially was not part of the original question. If you can answer it, it's your pleasure. If not, then we'll always give another date or another time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Marsabit Teachers Training College, I'll find out why it took long, but the shortage is not because of lack of teachers. It's because of lack of resources. That is, we have to have a budget before we employ the teachers, because you can't employ them without a budget. And we'll discuss with TSC to ensure that that is done, because it is a constitutional, an independent constitutional commission in charge of teachers and teaching resources. But we have had discussion with them, and we've agreed that in this new team that they are employing, they employ the people who qualified earlier, the people who are almost 45 years old and above, who qualified many years ago and have not gotten a job. So that is the policy that they are going to use. With respect to the issue of Nyeri, the Paybill program has a selection criteria, and we shall be able to endeavor to provide that to Honorable Madenge to confirm whether and to see which schools from Nyeri have or are not there, so that we can be able to be on the same line. The suggestion of NEC result slip being sent to the students, that is an excellent idea, and we've also thought about sending the results, the next results maybe to our sub-county offices, so that they are collected from there with copies or with a register sent to the schools to confirm that those certificates have been picked by the students, so that there is no challenge or there is no situation where the students are suffering or being able to be told that they have to pay many things before they receive. Deployment of education officers to the newly created sub-counties. We are working towards posting the DDC to those sub-counties from the ministry. Then we will be able to do the identification, have those officers done. That exercise is actually ongoing. The analysis is being done, and the resources that are attended to it so that they can be there. We anticipate that by January, all the officers will be in place. Thank you.
Fair enough. Honorable, are you on a point of order?
Oh, sorry. On Ferdinand's question, I know we've agonized over the Kwanzaa TVET institution, and we are really pushing to have the resources so that we can be able to provide for the TVETs that are required. In fact, the department requires 790 million to be able to allocate to the TVETs that have been started that require to be completed. So, but we are doing everything possible to get those resources to ensure that those institutions are completed, because you've already committed resources to them. So we are doing something about it, Honorable Wanyonyi.
What is your point of order, the MP for Yatta? What's out of order? Go to the next one.
Well, it's not a point of order, Mr. Speaker. I only have one question, which is actually a follow-up on what my colleagues have asked. It's in regards to the help disbursement, Mr. Speaker. There is actually prolonged delay in disbursement of help, and so many of our young students, particularly from poor families, are coming to our offices. So what is the ministry doing to mitigate the delays in disbursement of help? Because that's a major concern to many parents, Mr. Speaker.
Minister, if you wish to answer that, I will then give you you can have a quick shot. If not, then it will be, the MP will have to be told to list that question himself, and then you.
Again, there might be a delay in the disbursement of help is because of the exchequer, and we are doing everything possible to ensure that the resources that come are disbursed as soon as possible to the students who have applied. So we are doing something in that space, and we continue working towards ensuring that our students, especially from the poor families, as you've indicated, do not suffer. So we keep following and working very closely with National Treasury for the resources to come, then they are disbursed to those students.
Honorable Nikala, I want to go to the next question. What is your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Minister is really answering prepared questions very well, but one pattern is coming out, that what we see on the ground is different from what he knows. And he says, if you have any case, let us know, we'll investigate. Does it mean there is actually a disconnect between his office and what's happening on the ground?
What exactly?
One,
yes.
The children are going to school early. Honorable Ndonye said he saw them in Oyugis. I see them on Farasi Lane every time I leave at 5. Students have been sent home. When I was last week, I know about 3-4 schools where students were sent home. Certificates are being held. The minister has even given instructions. He's saying if there are specific cases. Mr. Speaker, what this means, that the information we see does not reach the minister. So my question is, does he investigate this, or are his officers not doing their work. Because what we see, he should get from their officers, his officers on the ground.
Yeah, the minister said that we will deal with this thing on a case-by-case basis, if I'm wrong. If I'm not wrong.
It's not possible.
Order, Honorable Nyikal. Order. There's one school that Madam Donya talked about. Do you have other additional schools? Give the list to the minister so that he can take an action. But the rules, he said the rules are very clear. Children, order. Yeah, but do you have, how many cases do you have? Specific cases right now that you would, all these things are brought up as an afterthought. You never filed these questions in the first place. Ordinarily, honorable members. I was in this house and I chaired this and I remember the rules and I don't think it has changed much. You don't expect to stand on the floor of the house, mention a school and expect the minister to have answers for you immediately. He has to go back to establish the facts and take an action. Yeah, what's your point of order, Honorable MP for Kwanza?
I had a very, the speakers just, Mr. Speaker, the ministers answered one, but one that I wanted him to do was to give directive to TSC so that the students, those who finished earlier, directives by the minister are not given on the floor of the house. Can he do something about it?
The executive, he has said he will look into it. He goes back and you order. Honorable members, you have an opportunity to go and meet the minister in his own office. I was in the Ministry of Education, order. He's there most of the time. Ogamba is there almost all the time. I've tried to see him. I've seen him, but nonetheless, give the specific. Yeah, what's the banning you, Honorable Raso? Please don't use this opportunity to basically, write roughshod ministers. Give them their questions and expect answers, and there's a timeline, and then go back and get the answers. Or file the answers, the questions, specific questions. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I believe when you sit on that chair, you don't have a vote. You must be a fair arbiter. What we are raising with the minister is things which are out there. We live in Nairobi, and children leave their homes at 4 in the morning to get to schools. What sort of learning takes place when a child who is 5, 6, 7 leave their homes at 4?
An arbiter, an independent arbiter, does not mean he has to agree with you. The minister has said the rules are clear. You have specific cases, go and talk to him about it.
Mr. Speaker, we are the representatives of the people. And that is why we must have our word, and you should hear us. And even if the minister has no answers, he has actually said that he will go away and investigate or give us answers.
Which he has said he's dealing with these things on a case-by-case basis. Yes, Donya, what's your point of order? Yes.
Sorry, the school-going children are in uniform.
Yes.
He doesn't need to investigate. He can even liaise with the Ministry of Interior. Police officers are everywhere. They arrest these children. They take them to the police station, and then you question the school. Mr. Speaker, I come from Kisii, where we have high rates of defilement. These children, they are on the road by 4:30. There is no electricity. We have so many bushes, meaning we have given out our girls just to the world. At 4:30, are they studying for PhD? It is the minister who should do a circular to schools, and it has to be a tough circular so that we say school begins at 8, the way he has stated. Then they will leave home at 6, which is good time when everyone can see. When they report to school, Mr. Speaker, and if they don't honor the circular, then something can be taken to those schools the way it has been before, when they were told the schools must have yellow buses. Everything was in order. I support Honorable Raso because Kisii, check the statistics. 60% are teen mothers. It's not something to smile about. Waziri is my uncle. He must act, he must be tough, and in fact, next week I'm going to Kisii. If I bring more photos of children going to school, something has to be done from Waziri's office. It is not a walk in the park. It is very bad for our young girls going to school at 4:30. Are they doing masters? Which education is this they are going to participate in, Mr. Speaker? It is really bad.
Minister, Cabinet Secretary, that the issue being raised, although not as a question by any of the members, but nonetheless, we are all parents, and she has a very emotional issue here when you talk about teen girls who are pregnant and the dangers that they face. Can you give a firm undertaking to this House that the matter is going to be dealt with as a matter of urgency? And that agency itself, including a public pronouncement from your office to all those schools, to the serious consequences of exposing children, pupils, and students to the kind of dangers that the members are talking about. On the same issue? No, not on the same. 1 minute. Honorable members, this is a house of rules. We can't sit there so that you keep on thinking of one question or the other, which you had not filed before. Okay, what is your question?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. If us as members of National Assembly we see these kids, and including yourself, where does the CS live that he needs evidence from us? And I believe as he moves around, he also sees these kids, surely.
That matter has been raised by the ruling from the chair here, which was very firm. Cabinet Secretary, give a firm undertaking. Given the fact that there is this dangerous exposure of our young girls.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, members, for that concern. We undertake as a ministry to work with all other government agencies to ensure that our circular on the school times are adhered to, and serious administrative action will be taken against any institution that violates it, so that we can bring that back our institutions to order with respect to the school time. So we undertake as a team, and we are going to make the pronouncement to ensure that even our officers on the ground are actively ensuring that that circular is adhered to. Not just
the circular, what everybody will see, including your pronouncement in the media.
Yes.
Because seriously, we cannot allow young girls to get exposed to what.
Thank you.
And in the meantime, I think every member of parliament who has issues like that in his backyard should come and report to the cabinet secretary, so that they're able to specifically go to certain institutions, send people there, carry out an exhaustive investigation, and bring to book people who are flouting the circulars and the rules of the ministry. Is that good enough? Honorable Russo, is that good enough? Or you want us to take the military there now?
Mr. Speaker, that is exactly what we are seeking from you, and also the minister. And he has made a good point. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And next question. Next question, the Honorable Martha Wangari asking on behalf of the Honorable
Member for Emuhaya. And Mr. Speaker, just to be on record, I support you in terms of accessibility, and I think this CS is one who tries to respond to members, even on phone, if you have a burning issue.
All the time.
Maybe in your direction, you can join with what Honorable Nyikal has spoken about, because these circulars are being treated just as pieces of paper. That is the problem, the implementation, so that we align with what the minister has said. Honorable Speaker, allow me to ask question number 11 of 2025 on behalf of Honorable Member for Emuhaya, Mboko Milemba, to the Cabinet Secretary. Could the Cabinet Secretary, one, provide details on the funds allocated by the Ministry of Education to public primary and secondary schools for co-curricular activities, specifically for participation in the National Ball Games and the Kenya Music Festival? Number 2, state how much money is retained by the Ministry of Education from the capitation funds allocated for students on co-curricular activities, and explain why schools are fundraising for these co-curricular activities, yet they ought to receive capitation. Number 3, outline the facilitation provided by the ministry to learners and teachers participating in regional and national competitions, such as the Kenya Music Festival. Number 4, and finally, explain why the sub-county education officials require head teachers or principals of schools to remit part of the capitation funds to their offices, which are then channeled to the Ministry of Education for co-curricular activities, even though the funds are intended to directly facilitate students' participation in such activities. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay. Minister, proceed.
Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Education allocates funds for co-curricular activities as part of the annual capitation for primary, junior, and secondary schools as follows. For primary schools, co-curricular funding is embedded within the free primary education vote and with a portion dedicated to sports, games, and performing arts, that is drama and music festivals. The sum of Kenya shillings 76 per learner per year is earmarked for sports, games, and performing arts activities. For secondary schools, under the free secondary education program, Kenya shillings 1,500 per learner per year is allocated for co-curricular activities. This allocation covers a wide range of school games, sports, and performing arts. These funds are intended to support schools' co-curricular activities at the sub-county, county, regional, and national levels. The support is in the areas of transport, accommodation of participants and officials, water provision, medical services, and other championship and festival costs. Mr. Speaker, the funds, that is the 76 shillings and the Kenya shillings 1,500, are not assigned per discipline, for example, for ball games or music festivals. The schools themselves prepare budgets and allocations per the activity that they participate in. Mr. Speaker, it is also important to note that except for the transportation of learners, the national games and national music festivals are funded by the Sports, Arts, and Social Development Fund and thus do not depend on capitation. Mr. Speaker, on the second question, the ministry retains part of the capitation earmarked for co-curricular activities as follows. Kenya shillings per learner per year for primary school and Kenya shillings 500 per learner per year for secondary schools. These funds that are retained are consolidated and sent to the regional, county, and sub-county offices to run co-curricular activities at those levels. The balance of the amount is sent directly to the schools. However, it is important to note the following challenges that impact on resources. Number 1, cost of national representation. When schools qualify for presentation to represent counties or regions at national competitions, the cost of participation often exceeds the standard capitation provided for because the funding formula is designed for average participation at the local and sub-county levels. National participation involves hiring of transport, boarding facilities, and logistical costs. Number 2, delayed disbursements. Occasionally, delayed release of funds by National Treasury affects timely facilitation, leading to schools needing to bridge funding gaps through internal fundraising or support from the local stakeholders and other well-wishers. Number 3, specialized events. Some competitions, e.g. music festivals, performances, involve things like costumes, instruments, and choreography. These require specialized resources beyond the standard per learner allocation. The ministry is reviewing funding guidelines to address these gaps and reduce reliance on support from other well-wishers as much as that may be necessary due to limited resources and higher requirements. Question 3, Mr. Speaker. The ministry facilitates learners and teachers participating in regional and national co-curricular activities as follows. Number 1, transportation grants. Partial funding to support school teams to travel to competition venues. Number 2, they provide for uniforms and costumes which are necessary, especially when competitions move beyond school levels. Extra funding becomes necessary to cater for these items. Number 3, accommodation and meals. Through collaboration with host institutions, the ministry subsidizes boarding and meal costs. Number 4, coordination and logistics. The ministry deploys officials to coordinate scheduling, officials, judging, and venue preparation for national events. Number 5, training and workshops. Capacity building sessions are organized for teachers and adjudicators to ensure high quality performances and standardized assessment criteria. Number 6, awards and recognition. The ministry provides trophies, certificates, and other recognition incentives for outstanding performances and to promote talent development. This facilitation is, however, dependent on budgetary availability and prioritization within the education sector funding. Mr. Speaker, for co-curricular activities this cycle, for example, the sub-counties received only Kenya shillings 155,000 for all the second-term activities. Counties received 505,000, while regions received an average of 1.2 million. This is grossly inadequate to run all the disciplines: primary ball games, special needs primary games, junior school ball games, secondary school games, special needs secondary games, and Kenya Music Festival, primary, junior, and secondary. The Western region, for instance, required a total of 219 buses to transport learners to Meru for this year's music festival. This implied approximately 13.1 million requirement for fuel alone at the cost of 60,000 shillings per bus. Going forward, Mr. Speaker, we are working towards mobilizing more resources for co-curricular activities through securing optimal capitation allocations, and at the same time, we are also working to achieve cost effectiveness in the management of co-curricular activities, including exploring, for example, digitizing some aspects of the co-curricular activities like virtual adjudication. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, the ministry's field officers are not authorized to demand remittances from schools' capitation funds for any purpose whatsoever. Capitation funds are intended to be managed at the school level per learner-centered activities, including co-curricular participation. If there are any cases, again, of schools being compelled to remit such funds, the ministry would appreciate reports to inform appropriate and immediate action. The ministry's field officers may only be involved if schools, on their own volition, seek support in coordinating the pooling of resources to centralize logistics for cluster-based activities. Where this is done, the field officers are required to do so in a transparent and accountable manner and in conjunction with the schools themselves. I submit.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And on the last one, of course, to the CS, it wouldn't be official for them to complain openly, to say they have received money. But this matter was very heated on this floor. And that time, the music festivals, I think, were in Meru. And many of these schools were stranded. And that's why this question was raised, because they were coming to the MPs to help them fund fuel, food, or any other expenses. But my follow-up then would be, Mr. Speaker, if you give 76 shillings only and then retain 40 shillings per learner, then it means already you're giving 36 shillings only. And you have retained 500 from 1,500 from secondary schools. By all means, this money cannot be sufficient at all. So my follow-up then would be, when you say that you're working and reviewing funding guidelines, what exactly does the minister mean? Is it the issue of budgeting, or is it the issue of vote allocation, so that you are looking at how much goes to co-curricular activities? And maybe some of these issues should be done before we head to the next national competitions, because I know I've seen schools really struggle to fund sports, to fund music festivals, and even costumes. In fact, it has been easy because of the coalition with the NGCDF. I know, like in my sub-county, issue like costumes and uniforms for games, we did through NGCDF. So maybe the CS can clarify that. What does that exactly mean? And where does that money that is retained go exactly? And does it translate to go to the schools? Because schools still struggle. Thank you.
Yes, the Honorable MP Foyata.
Thank you, Speaker. My question is actually on hardship. In my constituency, I have teachers who receive hardship allowance. But then I also have other teachers who are working in TVETs, who are excluded from hardship allowance. So I want the ministry to tell us, how come some teachers receive hardship allowance and other teachers are deliberately excluded from hardship allowance? Thank you.
The Honorable Russell. There again, you will look at it.